guy saw as we pulled up on this, he ran right through several fences, through almost looked like maybe a construction site or some private property, and then he came out onto 85th Street at Vermont. Now he's again speeding like a madman down Figueroa Street, paralleling the 110 freeway here. Light traffic on Fig, allowing him to really push the pedal to the metal here. Now approaching 82nd Street. You see bicyclists, pedestrians in the street here. A very dangerous situation. This guy is not showing any signs of slowing down, but this is part of the reason they put, oh, look at this. He might use a sidewalk here. He's going over the shoulder here on Figueroa. That is all parking spots there. He is speeding through all of this traffic. Very, very narrow lane there. That is not even a lane. He is threading the needle, trying to get away from those units behind him. He's got lots of flashing lights way back there, now using a parking lot to cut through this intersection here. Too much traffic, going to come out onto Manchester Avenue. He has already been on Manchester once. He came under the 110 freeway and is now back on Manchester westbound from Figueroa. Again, doing whatever he can to try and lose those ground units, and I'm afraid they have had to pull back once again because he is driving way too fast, way too recklessly. That means that the LAPD airship is going to be the one keeping eyes on that suspect and trying to call out that location as he continues this dangerous joyride. This is a dangerous driver behind the wheel of that Mercedes right there in the middle of your screen for the first time. He is actually coming to a stop with traffic, and just a moment ago you saw a right hand there adjusting that right mirror. I'm not sure if that was his hand or if that was a passenger that was adjusting that mirror, but you saw that mirror move just seconds ago as he is now pointed westbound on Manchester Avenue at Hoover at a red light. This is the first time he has come to a stop. Right through it, and then came out the other side through another fence. So he really, and he did it at a pretty high rate of speed. Remarkable, again, that there's not more front-end damage. There obviously wasn't a very heavily locked front fence, but he ran right through it nonetheless. Now on the surface streets here through a residential neighborhood, southbound, passing 88th Street. Very frightening to see this car traveling at these speeds through all of this, through all these houses here. He's already used parking lots. He's used alleyways. He's used every outlet at his disposal to try and evade the eyes of law enforcement and get away. But right now, we are doing our best to keep eyes on him as he continues this zigzag through Southwest L.A., which is in the LAX Bravo airspace, making it a little bit difficult to get that really clear overhead shot as he was coming towards us on Manchester. He has since now gone the opposite direction. He's moving away from us again, westbound on 92nd Street. I'm being told now that they are treating this as a possible DUI suspect behind the wheel of that car. Yeah, just cutting everybody off. Sorry, Giovanna, go ahead. That's the latest information we have. At least that's what they are treating this as, a DUI suspect. But obviously the charges have really stacked up here, and we're seeing a lot of really knee-jerk steering here as he makes these last-second moves, last-second turns, last-second lane changes to try and squeeze through traffic. It's a busy afternoon here. He is retracing some of the same territory that he has already covered, so he may not even be looking for a specific destination. It might be the case that he's looking for an opportunity to hide somewhere, potentially dump the vehicle and run away, or perhaps he has something else in mind entirely. But either way, the driving, very dangerous, very reckless, a little too dangerous for those officers to stay too close behind him here. They're going to have to triangulate their way in here and try to be ready for him when he does eventually come to a stop. They want to be ready for him, and that's what the airship is positioning those ground officers for. They're calling out the location. He's now on Century Boulevard, again going westbound on Century towards Inglewood as he is slowing down just a little bit. He's got a red light here. We'll see if he, nope, not even obeying that. Look at that, just making a wild right turn there through the red light, cutting more traffic off, and now he's really starting to establish a little bit of a circle. Maybe not exactly the same roads, but he's starting to do a loop through this part of Southwest LA, which may provide an opportunity at some point, if he ever slows down, for a possible spike strip. Very challenging in normal circumstances. At these speeds, it's really, really hard. He would have to slow down tremendously and start to ease up on that gas pedal for them to even position. And I think we're seeing the contrary here. I think it looks like he's actually speeding up, really pressing that gas pedal as he now is back on Vermont Avenue, heading northbound through the 90s. They have had no choice but to back off. They're trying to catch up. They're trying to get into a position where they can either intercept and then maybe put this back in pursuit mode. But it was so dangerous, they had to basically put it in tracking mode, give all of that responsibility to the airship. They were still trying to keep up with him from behind, but in the last several minutes, as you've been able to see, well, despite the fact that we saw flashing lights right behind him initially, they have pulled back significantly. That is the first sign right there. In several minutes, there are several SUVs about a couple hundred feet away from him, behind him, but you can see they're slowing down, actually giving him some breathing room. So they are intentionally keeping this in tracking mode. They are intentionally keeping their distance. They're pulling back. They obviously have no choice. They can't go through a lot of these red lights that he's blowing through, but they are starting to catch up here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 LAPD interceptors now on his tail, but still intentionally keeping their distance as he now slows down slightly down Manchester Avenue once again. So we're starting to repeat some of the same roads. If they can get somebody in front of them, it's again very difficult, especially with all this other traffic. But you look for any opportunity. If he slows down, maybe they'll give the go-ahead for that pit maneuver. Or maybe if he continues this loop, they can get somebody ahead of him with a spike strip. But the erratic nature of this chase really, it makes it much, much more challenging and starts to limit those options. They have those tactics at their disposal, but with a wild driver behind the wheel like this, under the influence, and who knows if they have more information that they are dealing with, including the possibility of a weapon or what other charges that this person may be wanted for. That's all going to play into the decision making, into how they use their tactics, how they use their tools, and whether they want to take any more aggressive action. Right now, they're pulling right up around him here, and he's going through the coming up on Western. He's coming up westbound Manchester at Western, at the red light, making the right turn, and they are going to make that right with him here as soon as they have the opportunity. Again, once he goes northbound here behind these buildings, we're going to intermittently lose a solid visual of that suspect vehicle. We're going to try and keep up with him here, but it's providing a challenge for us and obviously a challenge for LAPD as well. That's the vehicle. He's now heading westbound on 84th Place, a little bit slower, and they're not too far behind him here. The problem is they have figured out that when he sees those blue and red lights behind him, that's when he steps on the gas, and that is when the public is most at danger. So they're intentionally letting him make these turns. They're letting him continue this joyride until they can figure out, until his behavior changes such that they can take more action here. Right now, the tactic is to stay just out of his rear view mirror, but just close enough that they could be in position if he ditches that vehicle. It's really hard. It's going to require him to slow down, and that just doesn't seem to be the case with the suspect. So for now, they've got to put that tactic in the back seat and just kind of leave it there until he slows down, and then maybe he'll provide them an opportunity where they can set up. Again, it takes a lot of prediction to actually predict where he's going next, where he wants to be, and then set up on those roads or intersections where they can run over that spike strip. It's very, very difficult, again, under any circumstance, but especially during a high-speed chase like this, it's really just not an option at this point. He's now continuing southbound on 2nd through 90th Street, 2nd Avenue through 90th, again, through now another residential section of South Central here as he continues southbound at a... yeah, right here. He's going to come out. I believe he's going to come out right here. If he hasn't, yeah, there he is, right there. Now, yep, he's just going through that green light there, and we're going to, again, kind of peek through these houses, going much faster now, picking up speed. Probably, in all likelihood, that tells me, just a guess, but I'm thinking he sees those black and whites in his rearview mirror once again. Yeah, no, what happens there, what tends to happen is that speedometer is basically tracking the movement of our camera, which is keeping up with the vehicle. But from this distance, at this angle, it sometimes loses its telemetry, and so it's much more difficult to keep up with that accurate speed. But now we're going to get another accurate speed as he slows down a little bit. We're going to get a better glimpse of him as he continues towards the 105 freeway. That is really a freeway that I am looking at right off the nose here as he gets closer to it. I'm hoping for everybody's sake, and I'm sure law enforcement is too, hoping he takes it. If he gets on the freeway, that would be the safest place for a driver like this. Unfortunately, he's going over the 105 freeway, and quite frankly, over the course of this pursuit, he has yet to drive on any freeways. He has been almost 100% on surface streets, now making a right turn on 120th Street off of Van Ness Avenue, now heading westbound on 120th, and he's slowing down a little bit. Once again, you're going to see those LAPD units pull up behind him, and he's going to press the metal once again, press that pedal to the metal once again as he looks like, so we're just getting word, guys, that LAPD has made the decision, at least for now, to disengage, but that is what they are giving the orders for. But that doesn't mean they're going to let him go completely. You're going to see, or we're about to find out at least. We're about to find out just how close those units stay behind him, or if they actually pull off completely. Right now, there are units making the turn at Hawthorne Airport. He's at the perimeter of Hawthorne Airport, and the airship is still overhead. So there's nobody chasing him. This is no longer a pursuit. They want to see if maybe pulling off completely just takes some of the pressure off of him, just enough to let that adrenaline cool down, and maybe he behaves differently. But in a situation like this, I find it hard to believe they're going to pull off completely, because if he continues the same aggressive driving, somebody is bound to get hurt. And you have to at least be in position if that's what's going to happen. Coming down Crenshaw. He's coming down Crenshaw Boulevard. He's about to hit El Segundo Boulevard. We're going to look up this block. He should be coming out around these buildings here. We're coming around the building. He should peek through here in just a second. He's going to be heading towards El Segundo Boulevard. I think he's stuck in traffic. Is that him? I'm actually confused. Those are two very similar Mercedes. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. All right, so through El Segundo Boulevard, southbound on Crenshaw. We're going to look for any change in behavior here because they have pulled off significantly, although they are still in the area. So Hawthorne police also very much in a position where they are likely monitoring this pursuit as well, if not on the radio, certainly on television, and LAPD continuing the following with their helicopter overhead here. So he is now behind another Mercedes. We're following the one behind him here, that one right there, who's just about to overtake the one at the top there. Very easy to get confused, but you're right. He's the one with the lights off there, Mark. Very good point, and he is now right behind that other silver Mercedes as he continues southbound on Crenshaw Boulevard, now coming up on 135th Street. Another red light. Yeah, it looks like he might be. Yep. Yep, he's pressing it once again. He took a right turn there. He was going eastbound. Now he's paralleling the riverbed there as he takes that alleyway. They are still following from above. You saw just a second ago that LAPD airship fly right through the shot. So even though they are disengaging on the ground temporarily, they are still tracking his movements very carefully. Now pulling into a parking lot. Is he looking to cut through, or is he going to dump the vehicle? Looks like he might be getting ready to park the vehicle and run for it. All right, dumping the vehicle, running into a mini mart, into the liquor store. Here we go. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. He didn't even, absolutely. We're about to see this intersection flood with officers any second. They are calling it out. LAPD right near the top left-hand corner of your screen. Ground units now moving into position, and they are going to make their way in here. He runs back out, gets in the driver's seat, is about to take off once again. Yeah, it looked like a cigarette. Just enough time for him to grab something, who knows if he even paid for it, and got right back in that vehicle and is now getting back onto Crenshaw Boulevard. The chase continues, again, not technically in pursuit mode, but LAPD has eyes on this suspect as he is just a dangerous threat to everybody in this area, especially when you consider the driving that we have seen in the last few minutes here. Just a very dangerous situation. Not the type of person you want to let go of completely. You've got to get this guy, you got to at least be in position to get this guy if this ends tragically or if he eventually, dumps the vehicle. He is. He's westbound on 139th, slowing down quite a bit here, even stopping for the stop sign. We haven't seen much of that. He's only really been stopping when he's got somebody in front of him. He's actually got a stop sign here, giving the guy the right-of-way, and now cruising through 139th Street at a much more casual pace. For some reason, maybe it's the fact that he was able to park the car, go in, grab something, get back out. Maybe he just feels the pressure coming off of him. Maybe he thinks he is much closer to getting away with this crazy stunt this afternoon, but who knows? I'm being told now, guys, that the police ship has officially given this up. So that LAPD airship has now pulled off completely. You saw as he was over the mini mart, the LAPD airship was right overhead. Now that he's back in the vehicle, they have completely disengaged. Everybody has turned around. The LAPD airship has pulled off, and his driving has changed dramatically. He obviously is feeling much less pressure at this juncture. We will see if that driving continues or if he starts to behave any differently. Something tells me that his senses are a bit relieved at this point. Something tells me that he was probably very likely aware of that helicopter. He could probably hear it and doesn't hear it anymore, although he probably hears ours, so who knows what he's thinking in terms of helicopters. But I think he just feels less pressure. More likely, I think the fact that he was able to run inside and grab something without any police in sight kind of gives him the freedom to get back in the car and maybe just start to wind this down, maybe just go home or find another hiding spot. But it's got to come to an end eventually. Who knows how much gas was in this tank initially. He's actually going slower than a lot of the traffic that is traveling down Rosecrans right now. So he's really behaving much, much differently. That was the hope originally when they first initiated this pursuit and then put it into tracking mode. They were hoping that by pulling back and giving him a little bit of freedom and breathing room that he would slow down. But in fact, that wasn't the case. He actually continued some really dangerous maneuvers, including ramming through that fence. But ever since he ran into that mini mart, it's almost like a completely different driver behind the wheel of that Mercedes. Yeah, it's remarkable. Sorry, go ahead. No sign of law enforcement at all, either in the air or on the ground. I can guarantee you they are watching our feed, but for the time being, they are giving him the freedom to basically think twice about his life and move on with his day, essentially. They don't see it at this point as the threat that it was just a few minutes ago, and certainly that jives. I mean, this is like a completely different person behind the wheel. If he was, if he was suspected of being under the influence earlier, I mean, he's completely composed here, going so much slower and so much more relaxed and casual through these neighborhoods now. He's, again, still on Rosecrans Avenue at Hawthorne Boulevard, stopping for all the red lights and stop signs, just blending in with traffic and, without any particular place to go, it seems. Which does lead you to believe, yeah, and it does lead you to believe that there are not many other more serious wants associated with this person other than the dangerous driving, possibly indications of DUI perhaps. But beyond that, if they had more violent crimes that he was wanted for, they would not let it go quite as easily. So this does appear to be a situation where they played their game of cat and mouse. They tried to get him off the road. At some point, they called it off, It's a delicate call no matter who the watch commander is. These supervisors and watch commanders are always in a precarious situation because it's a tough call. They have their protocols, but it's still a tough call because every pursuit is different. Every driver behind the wheel of these getaway vehicles, they're always different. They have a different mentality, they have a different history, and they have a different motivation. And so in a situation like this, I'm actually a little surprised to see the drastic change in behavior here just compared to what we saw during the first half of this episode. And now, again, it's almost like an entirely different person behind the wheel. Copy, copy, copy. Hey there. Did he just park the car? He's still in the car? Copy. Okay.